Welcome to TalkNorth.com. Thanks to our longtime producer, Brandon Morton. Please download before you listen. If you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach us at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. And please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. Two promo codes to be aware of. Bitesquad.com. Use the promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery free. And go to SodaStick.com, the great local apparel company. Use the promo code YouBetcha to get free shipping on any sized order. So, Roy, I was speaking with a breakfast club the other day, and we started telling twin stories, and I started talking about you, and I told the Paul McCartney story, still one of my favorite stories. We're going to have to get back to when we get to the off-season, we will revive some of the greatest hits of all time. This is Roy Smalley's Chin Music, part of the TalkNorth.com podcast. Obviously, this is our baseball show on the network. Subscribe to your favorite podcast app, and also, go on there and on like iTunes or Apple, whatever, and review us, rate us, give us some feedback. We appreciate it. It is always welcome. The question I got was, how much credit should the hitting coaches get when a team performs like this offensively? And I gave them my usual BS, but let's hear your BS. Let's hear your informed BS on how much credit a hitting coach should get when a team performs like this.
Yeah, I've got lots of BS to add to that. I think my answer would probably not be dissimilar to yours, in that the hitting coach is probably the worst job on a major league staff, followed closely by the third base coach. Mm-hmm. But from a hitting coach standpoint, you tend not to get very much credit at all when things go well, and as soon as guys aren't hitting, then everybody wants you to be fired as the hitting coach. In this particular case with the Twins, and then I would add to that, the hitting coaches don't get an awful lot of credit when things are going well, and oftentimes they don't deserve a lot. I mean, it's one of the best jobs I can imagine in the game would be being a hitting coach for the Houston Astros or the New York Yankees, or somebody like that. I mean, that's a good gig when you've got veteran guys that already know exactly who they are and what they're going to do. That's a pretty good gig. But there are some hitting coaches that really do make an impact. And in this particular Twins case, I think James Rowson and Rudy Hernandez deserve a boatload of credit. They've got veteran guys that kind of know who they are, but younger guys have been helped immensely by those two coaches, and I think the natural progression of those guys are taking is in direct correlation to the work they've been doing with Rowson and Hernandez. I really do. And then the other thing that I think is really great, just the approach for the whole lineup, which is nothing to wait on. Figure out what the plan is against this particular pitcher. What pitches where you're good in the strike zone, what pitches the pitcher tends to throw in that area, and then be ready from the first pitch of every at bat. And I think that when you have a team that hits as many home runs as they do, and has the team batting average and the lack of strikeouts that they do, I think you have to give the hitting coaches credit for that. I don't think there's any way around that.
We're doing the show on Thursday morning before the day game, so we are not reflecting any game action from Thursday. We're more setting up the weekend and talking about trends with the Twins. Thanks to Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com. Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent who works out of Champlin. It's Hoaglund. And type in State Farm, too, or you're going to get a poet. You don't need a poet. You need Tony Hoaglund helping you with your insurance. Bitesquad.com, promo code TalkNorth, first delivery fee waived. We appreciate all of our sponsors and all of our listeners. I think... I've been around a lot of hitting coaches, and as you said, some veteran hitters, they don't even listen to the major league hitting coach. They just kind of have their own program. Torrey Hunter used to send videos to friends of his, like Bobby Bonilla, people like that. I think Miguel Sano still listens to Fernando Tatis. But what you really notice when you're around this team is that you have two hitting coaches, which is good. You have a very energetic, positive, charismatic guy in James Rowson, who everybody likes and respects. And you have Rudy Hernandez, who has all those traits and speaks Spanish and has a great connection with the Latin American players. It works.
It does work, and you also have to give credit to those two guys in terms of their relationship with each other.
Right.
There's a lot of trust. They're on the same page with everybody. They talk all the time, and it's James Rowson's job on the line. Really, I mean, he's the face of this and should be, but he's comfortable in turning over the coaching duties of many of the Latin players to Rudy Hernandez, and is totally trusting of the fact that Rudy will drive home and work on the things that the two of them have talked about together and are on the same page about. And Rudy's terrific. I've spent a lot of time talking with each one of those guys, and they're both great in their own way. They're both on the same page, and they have great rapport with their players. And so you also have to give those guys an awful lot of credit for that relationship that they've forged together.
You said when Arise started taking away a lot of the playing time at second base that you still valued Scope, you still thought he brought a lot to the team, and that has certainly proven true, as have most of the things you've said about this season. That has been proven true by this week. He's been a big figure. Arise finally hit a little bit of a slump. They gave him a little bit of time off, and Scope delivered home runs that won games.
Yeah, I really like Jonathan Scope. And where it starts for me on defense. I think he plays second base really well. I think he's very solid there. I think you can count on him to make the routine plays. He makes terrific plays periodically, and then he's fantastic turning double plays, and which is the Twins have made double plays this year that we have not seen before, based on this, just on the strength of Scope's arm and how quickly he can get rid of the ball from any position that his body needs to be put in to catch a throw, and then unload a high velocity throw to first base. And I think that's underrated in terms of how that has benefited the Twins pitching staff and the wins that they've had. Then you put him up there and at the plate, and he goes through these streaks where he hits the ball in the ballpark all the time. Now he's got 21 home runs. Now in his career, in the last 3 years, he's hit 24 and 32. So he's going to settle right in there again. And I think that he is tremendously valuable to this club. Not the least of which reason is that he is always smiling, always happy, whether he's playing or not. He's for the team, and has his great attitude every second of every day, regardless of what's going on, lineup or otherwise. And I just think he's a terrific teammate as well. So a lot to like about Jonathan Scope.
And great signing. I know a lot of people bash the signing because they thought the Twins were just being cheap, but they got, value still matters. No matter what you set the payroll at, you still have to find value plays. He has been a great value play.
No question about that. And I don't know. I just don't know about what they could have done differently, or why they should have done something differently other than what they did for in the last 2 years. For the signing of Cruz at that contract, the signing of Pineda. I mean, where would they be this year without the way Pineda has pitched? Looking for a fifth starter, and he's turned out to be at probably a 3, if not higher than that, down the stretch here. So they made a lot of really nice acquisitions at the right kind of value, I think, and so good for them.
I keep running into Berry Coffee products and symbols as I go around town, as I go around the whole Twin Cities. We've told you about Steve Brem, the owner. We've told you about all the many products, which Roy and I use every day. Just a reminder, this is a local company. It seems like a big company because it is a big company, but it's not. It's not somebody who's trying to sell the same things to people in San Francisco as they are to people in Minneapolis. It's founded in 1979, Minneapolis, Minnesota-based company. Locally owned, still run by Steve Brem, who the founder, and because of that you get great personalized service. And Roy talks about it all the time. They are the number one Minneapolis office coffee service provider. More and more, they are in bars and restaurants everywhere. Now I see them in car dealerships. I see them everywhere. So again, you're not helping a conglomerate that's owned by shadow owners or a hedge fund. You are working with a local owner who is very much the face of his company. And now let's go on to Jake Odorizzi. It really depends. You can look at a season so many ways, but you can say this month or that month or this stretch or that stretch. In general, he was great, and then he hit a snag, and now he's starting to pitch well again. What are you seeing from him?
He's got better command of his fastball for the most part. I think he's being a lot smarter with pitch selection and location, and which is, I mean, it's always the case. It was really funny. Kurt Suzuki said to me, pulled me aside one time, I think there was some discussion about pitch selection a couple of years ago when Kurt was catching, and there was some scuttlebutt about calling the wrong pitches, or this pitch selection should be different. And Kurt pulled me aside. He said, pitch selection arguments go away if the location's good.
Yeah.
And it's really true. I mean, you can throw just about anything you want if you throw that particular pitch in exactly the place it's supposed to be. And so there's a delicate dance between pitch selection and location. And it seems to me like Odorizzi is just doing a better job of that dance lately, of that finesse. And it really comes down to whether he can throw strikes with his fastball anywhere but middle of the plate. We saw that last night right away. Fastball down the middle to open the game, and Lurie Garcia doubled, and then he got an out, and then fastball down the middle to Abreu, and Abreu doubled to left center, drove in their first run. After that, he stayed out of the middle fairly well. He had good life on his fastball. He threw enough cut fastballs or sliders and changeups to make the fastball even better, and threw it in better locations. So that's always going to be the case for just about any pitcher, but especially for Jake, because he wants to throw that high fastball. That's where he's good. And if he misses high down in the middle of the zone, that hurts. He tries to go out on the outside corner, to vary with fastballs, to vary the high swing and miss fastball that he's got. And if that leaks back over the plate, he's got problems. So he's just been better location / pitch selection. And the other thing about Jake is that he throws a lot of pitches, and that's in a short period of time, right? So it's going to be hard for him to get through 6 innings without throwing 100 pitches or more, and that's a bit of a problem as well. He does what he says is navigate his way, and so what navigate means is I don't feel like challenging this guy. If I walk him, I don't want to pitch him. I'll take my chances with the next guy, and that gets you put guys on base, and that can give you some problems if you miss a spot to the next guy. But for the most part, I think we have to accept the fact that he's basically 6 innings and 100 pitches, and if it can be 3 runs or less, we'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wrote about that the other day. Quality starts work. And old school pitchers can diminish the stat. I understand that it's not a mark of excellence if you get a quality start, but your team wins a vast majority of the games when you give them a quality start.
No question about that. I mean, and that's the way the game is pretty much built now. Whether or not, as you mentioned, the fellow that coined the phrase and the stat had a huge influence on baseball, or whether his stat kind of grew out of the way baseball was going anyway, I don't know. But baseball has gone to you give us 6 innings and a pitch and 3 runs or less, and we're more than happy because we've built our staff on a parade of relievers that will come in for the last 3 innings, and we think we'll win.